Good morning. Today I'm going to talk to you about choosing colors for abstract composition and also ways that you can come up with some compositions for an abstract painting. So the first thing that I'll talk about is color. So on this piece of paper, when it was a whole, you can see it's cut now, but when it was a whole piece of paper, I just had it sitting beside me, usually on the floor, while I was painting something else. And when I was finished with the brush, instead of washing it off right away, I put the extra paint and just scribbled it out somewhere on that piece of paper. So those colors came from something else that I was already making. So I knew that I already liked them and that they would all go together. So this piece of paper came from that. When I had finished that painting and I had scratched some things in here and I just sort of played around with it. I went back later with a different brush. I think this might have been a brush pen that I used at the time because this whole area I hadn't done anything with it, so I just added in some random shapes. And I keep going back, always seems to be to the same shapes that I keep coming up with. And the same kind of lines just keep showing up throughout, even when I'm just doing something really quick. So that's one way that I've been choosing colors. And another way that I choose colors is on, I use this Pinterest board. So if I'm looking at something else or for something else, I've kept a Pinterest board called Color, and I just save random things that I see that I find interesting for the colors. Some of them are palettes that are pre-picked, and some of them are just paintings that I like or art that I like. And I just save those. So if I'm saving something like this and I'm starting off with a blank piece of paper, then I can sort of make in combination with that, choosing colors, using up this Hemi gouache set. So I talked a little bit about this before, and I was finding that the Winsor & Newton designer's gouache is so wonderful, but it is very expensive. So I was looking for some alternatives and bought this Hemi set. And it's got some beautiful colors, but I don't enjoy using it to create my paintings the way that I love the Winsor & Newton. So I didn't want to waste it. So I've been sort of looking through my color schemes that I had chosen before and trying to match up what do I have a lot of. So some of these colors I still have a lot of and I don't want to waste them. So if I'm going to go with this one here with this navy, I've got some it's this Prussian blue. I've got quite a bit of blues that are still in this palette. I've got a lot of, and I still have some oranges. And I like this combination. It's a complementary color scheme, so it is interesting to me right away. And this is sort of the same combination almost, just very much more muted. So those are a few ways that I have been coming up with color schemes. For composition, I'll go back to this. For composition, I've got all of these random marks that I've used my leftover paint on a piece of paper. And then what I've been doing is I've been making them into one-page books. And there are a couple of people that I have seen online make these types of things. So I didn't come up with this idea on my own. Helen Wells is one of the people that makes the one-page books and does this. I learned a lot from her. And there are other people as well that I learned this from. The other thing that I make these a lot of times with students, not as abstract, but as little mini books. So there are two different ways that I can cut these pieces of paper. For this one, I've cut this strip off and I have glued it in to start another painting abstract. I took this whole piece away for something else. But with this, I'll show you how to cut it in a minute, but I'll just show you first while it's here how to fold it up. So I just go backwards and flip-flop, zigzag, fold all the way around. And then I have a little book like this. So what I can do is, I've got a couple of other ones here. These ones I've done just with a brush pen. And the book comes out with some already random compositions. So I might like something here already. I've got this little sticker. I really like this. This, I think, is how I came up with the one that is on the cover of my book. I think I started something like this maybe from here. And since I've done it in black and white, I can then transfer it to any color that I want. It just gives me a nice bunch of things that I can go on. Now this, I didn't find anything about that, but doesn't mean I can't come back to this later and change things. So out of this whole piece of paper, this was the one that I really liked. And I painted this one a couple times, big and small and different colors. I do have another little book here that I created with similar, you'll see the same kind of similar shapes keep showing up. When you're doing this, your shapes will be different and your lines will be different, and you'll probably notice that you're coming up with the same sort of shapes and lines, your own abstract vocabulary. So those are a couple of ones that I've already made. And this one that I just showed you how I folded it up, I'll just show you this way. So I could like a composition exactly the way that it is now and make paintings like this, which I kind of like almost every page of this. I like the texture on this one. However, if that doesn't work out, or before you even cut and fold, another way that you can do this is to cut some pieces of paper, 2 L's I've cut out of one piece of Bristol board, and make it into a viewfinder. So if you take your 2 L's and put them together, you can go around the page and try to find something that catches your eye. And I think this is catching my eye. I kind of like that. So the next step would be for me to take, since this is a square, I'll do this in my square little sketchbook. And I'm going to take my hemi-gouache and a little brush. And I'm going to start with a little brush and start with these lines here. And if I decide to use the color scheme that I was thinking about here with these with the blues, dark blue, and the oranges, put that there. I think you'll be able to see it. And I'm going to use the blue to just try to copy what I've got in my viewfinder. Now, some of the reasons that I enjoy doing these kind of random happy accident type of things is because I don't always come up with an idea, but a lot of times I want to paint. So if I don't have an idea of something that I want to paint, this is kind of like a recipe to get started. So I've got those two. I want to make that less texture. And I'm going right to the edge. And I'll get another brush for this orange. And I'm going to come across like this. And I probably should have taped off a square here so that I'm not going right to the edge, or probably should have put a piece of paper behind this, but it's okay. The great thing about having some sketchbooks around that I haven't used before is that I can use them up. So I'm using up the Hemi gouache, I'm using up my pieces of paper, I'm not being precious, I'm just going for it. And I'm not expecting that I'm going to have a painting for my wall. I am just enjoying the process of putting it all together. I've got this little bit here, and I'm going to go with, maybe I should have done a little bit of light blue. Or lighter blue. Oops. I don't know if that's going to be light enough, but we'll go for it. So now I'm seeing that I really didn't put it in the right place, but that's okay. I can add something. And maybe I'll just add another one of these kind of shapes just to balance it out. So I kind of was just going with the flow here while I was recording. If I was doing it again, I probably would have taped off or just imagined a square and left a border around it. And I'll let this dry for a minute, and I'll, well, actually, I won't. I'll just go over. Let's find another composition and see if I can be a little bit better at getting it in the right shape. Try to find something a bit square. And I'll do it upside down so this will still fit on the screen. And try to be a little bit more mindful of where things are happening. Dipping this in a little bit of water so that it will flow a little bit better. And I'm just using different brushes, different sizes. It'll give me some different textures. So I've got this. Maybe I'll do this a bit lighter orange, sort of here. And I like how that's sort of blending together. Didn't blend together here, but I'm having some more happy accidents. And I've got this thing here, and I've got so much orange over there. I don't want to, I wouldn't mind having some orange, but I don't want another big orange in the corner. So I will go for some making this more difficult than it needs to be. So I'll just go like this with this blue. And I'm going to scrub it in, and I'm going to add a little bit of a different blue, this kind of ultramarine. And back to this blue. This light blue kind of balances it out. I like that. And like I said, it's not something that I'm planning on putting on the wall, but it is a nice start that I can use to make something else. So yes, the other thing that you might want to do to find some compositions is just to go for it and using up old paint from your palette. Just instead of putting it on a big piece of paper, just have a little sketchbook ready to go and intuitively make some marks with that extra paint. I'll flip through this one and try not to smoosh that last bit that I just did. So these were little abstracts that I did with extra paint on the palette. I think this one was pretty recent, so I still have it on that palette. There's the extras. I just moved it around the page, and It's quite relaxing to just go for it and not have any expectations on how something might turn out. But having the same color scheme on both pages, I like that. Added some colored pencil on the top of this one. I like how the border comes around. Sometimes I forget to do that. Sometimes I don't like them. They're very dull. But another day I might come back and add something to this to add some more contrast. There's not enough contrast, I don't think. Some of these colors that are here, I think are really cool. I can use those again somewhere else. Some of them were fun to make. Some of them are fun to look at when they're over. So I added a lot of colored pencil on top of the hemi gouache here. And I can't remember how far I showed you in the last video. This one I still really like. I keep coming back to this. I like that one for some reason. And I'm pretty sure I've shown these in another video. So having the tape lines around is really nice and crisp, but when I'm using it as sort of a leftover of paint on my palette, I'm not always prepared, and I just go for it anyway. And these are probably from this. So pretty. Love the colors, love the compositions. So this beginning part, I was using the same colors, and I love all of them. So I'll put this aside to dry and bring over another example. So this is my Royal Talons Art Creation sketchbook, and the paper is off-white, and I don't love it, but it's a really fun big book to play in. So this was the piece of paper that I cut off of the large piece, off this large piece, and I glued that in, and then I just did a little bird that I had seen outside with these same kind of colors. I thought it went together, and I'll probably add something in over top of all of this. And this came out of that little book that I did with the long one that I keep liking. Like the colors, I like the randomness. Now I don't really like this, so one of the things that I could do is I could take my viewfinder and I could look for something that maybe I did like. I like that. So this viewfinder is a handy tool to take something that you don't like and turn it into something that you can use for something else. I really like that. I'll just keep flipping through here. I did show some of these before in another video. And again, these are all kind of just using up paint, coming back over with different colors, trying things out, not worrying about how things are going to end up, and just playing and having lots of fun. This was that same color scheme that I was just using. This is from leftover paint. This is something I found on Pinterest. I liked those colors, but not really finished. And this is just some leftover paint that I was putting on while I was painting something else. So I'll come back to this and add more things. And this is back to the grids that I had made previously on a video that, well, I didn't make them on the video. I showed them on a video. And lots of people are doing these grids. I did not make it up. But I'll show you a way that I'm working on these grids. So using the same color combination that I have been using, this one here, with the blues and the orange and rusts, I start by drawing some grids, used a little bit of sticky notes, and just trace them. So I've got my pencil lines there. You might not be able to see those. And I'm going to start with the same color and put some of that same color in every box, or most of the boxes. And my goal in my mind is I'm thinking no two of these should be the same. They should all be different somehow. So I'm going to take my brush, and I've got a kind of a big brush here, 3/4 inch, and I'm using this Prussian blue, and I'm just randomly doing something different that I haven't done in any of the other boxes. And it's supposed to be fun, and you don't have to worry if it looks good. We're just doing some random stuff. And sometimes you run out of random and you just think, I don't know what else to do, and you can leave it blank. So maybe I'll just do something like that. And then I use a different brush for the next color. And what have I got? So I'll use this nice orange. And again, it will be different in every box. And like I said with the other ones, I'm not intending that these are going to go on the wall. They're going to be starting points. Got some blue on there, so I'll change my brush again so it's not mixing. It's a good idea to let each layer dry. If you're using leftover paint on your palette, it's a little bit easier because you're moving on anyway, so they usually will dry in between. But it is fun to do them, even just with the colors of your choice. So I'm finding that there's a lot of orange. So I'm going to leave that kind of orange out of these two boxes. And then I'll just continue like that, adding, using a different brush, different size for the different color. So let's use this and this. And there come back those little swirls that I seem to make all the time. And I could look for something in another painting and maybe try to copy that. So without worrying too much, I'll just go in and try to make something similar. To this. And it looks not how I like it, so I'll try something else. And sometimes I have a hard time just thinking and talking and painting at the same time, but I think you get the gist of it. So I can add in different colors and follow that color scheme, or come away from that color scheme and do something else. But I'm keeping in mind that none of these should look the same. Each time I'm using this brush and color, I'm trying to do something different. And I try not to think about it too much. Because I can always come back with different things. If I don't like it at all, I can come back in with white paint and cover it up. I can just turn the page. It's about not being too precious with any of these. So I'll probably just do a little bit of this. Sort of lighter color, and maybe a little bit of this. It's not really in that Pinterest reference that I'm using. It's more of a rusty in that picture, but I don't have that mixed, so I'm just going to go with what I've got. And I should probably just finish this video because you're getting the idea, I'm sure, and I'm not really adding anything of value at this point. So I've shown you through a couple more sketchbooks and ways to come up with color compositions, ways to use your old paintings to come up with new ideas, and hopefully you'll just go for it and have fun and play with it. I did say I would show you how to cut these, so I'll do that very quickly before I finish up. So, regular sheet of paper. This is one way that you can do it. Fold it in half. Fold it in half the other way. Open it back up to this part. Fold in this way. And then fold it like this, or open it like this. So you've got these 4 sections. And then all you have to do is cut this line here, just up to the fold. And then when you open it up, you fold it in half this way. Push together these 2 areas, push those together, and then just fold it together like this. So if you had painted on this piece of paper, you would then have pages that open up and are little books. So the little books can sit on your shelf and they can be references for future works. And to make the other type of one-page book, you'll make your marks on the piece of paper. And then the first thing, it's just all folding in half. So folding in half. Fold it in half again. Open the whole thing up. Fold it in half the other way. And fold it in half again. Now open the whole thing up like this. And I'll mark it so that you can see beforehand, before I cut. So it doesn't matter which side you do this on. So I'll just do, I'm going to cut all the way on this line. Oops. Cut all the way on this line. And this one will cut from this side all the way up. And then you just fold it back and forth on those fold lines. In a zigzag type of way. Like this. So when you're opening it, I'll show you the one that we've been working with before. When you open it, you'll notice that those pages where we turned the corner look like this. So if you don't want to open it back up and you just want it to be a book forever, you can glue those together so that it turns a little bit better and it's a little bit neater. So every corner page like this, if you glue those together, it turns it like this one too. Glue that part together, and then it remains a little book, and it doesn't just keep opening, and it makes it nice and neat. So those are 2 ways to make the one-page books. Hopefully that has helped in some way and will give you a start when you have no other ideas. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye.